Yo, what's up guys, Old School Dan here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Frank Zane's secrets to a small waistline. So the information provided in this video is coming straight from Frank Zane's ebook called Get Great Abs. So you know that the information is 100% legit and it's coming from the real Frank Zane. With that being said, let's get started. So the first secret that Frank Zane gives us to getting a small waistline is number 1. Don't stuff or bloat yourself. This means don't eat enormous amounts of food at one time. Don't stuff yourself till you're full, and whenever you drink fluid, don't just gulp it down. Instead, you want to sip on it slowly. And another thing, he says people who drink beer regularly in copious amounts tend to get big waistlines, especially with a combined lack of exercise. He also says that it's better to eat small amounts of food and to stop at the first sign of fullness. Alright, so that was tip number 1. Now I got 4 more tips for you. Let's keep going. Tip number 2, have a good diet to keep the fat off. He says if you want to get great abs, this means keeping the carbs less than the protein intake. He also recommends carb cycling. Now, if you've ever heard that Frank Zane never bulked, this is true. He didn't believe in bulking. I think I remember hearing that Arnold and Frank Zane were having lunch one time, and Arnold told Frank Zane that you can eat anything you want. As long as you train hard, it will balance out. Now, this is something that Reg Park also followed too, but that's another story. But anyways, that same competition that Arnold competed against Frank Zane, he lost because he came out too smooth. Now, another story. When they told Frank Zane that you need to get bigger, he did and he lost. He sacrificed his diet, got bigger, but came out smoother and lost. So you want to keep your diet on check in order to maintain that tight waistline. Now, that was tip number 2. Let's move on to tip number 3. Tip number 3. Do enough aerobics to stay tight all over. Now, some of the old school bodybuilders like Steve Reeves and Reg Park never did aerobics. Their training itself was aerobics. And guys like Vince Strana didn't believe in aerobics. He actually laughed at people when they talked about aerobics. That's another story. Anyways, but definitely the guys of the old school days like Arnold, Franco, and Frank Zane definitely did aerobics. You would see Arnold bike riding, running up the street. Frank Zane would run on the track. So, you definitely have to pick your poison on what type of aerobics you want to do. Alright, so that was tip number 3. Now we're going to move on to the last 2 final tips. Tip number 4. Do regular abdominal work. Now, all the old school guys did an insane amount of abdominal work. If you watched my last video on how old school bodybuilders train abs, you can watch right here. I'll put a link right there and in the description. But anyways, I talked about how they did a crazy amount of volume for abs. I'm talking about Frank Zane doing an hour of sit-ups like that. Arnold, a minimum of 500 Roman chairs. Stuff like that. Frank Zane says do a regular amount of abdominal work to maintain or get that small waistline. Now, we're going to move on to the last and final tip to getting a small waistline. Now, the last and final tip would be to practice the vacuum. Now, let me read you a little excerpt from Frank Zane's ebook. This will definitely help you get a smaller waistline and gain control of your abdominal muscles. It's true for a few reasons. Stomach vacuums can only be done on an empty stomach, so a good time to practice them is when you first begin to feel hungry. By doing so, you will chase hunger pangs away for about 20 to 30 minutes before they return. I've always found my waistline to improve when I would stay hungry longer. When you are hungry, it's a sign that your body is beginning to burn fat from its largest storage area. And as you stay hungry longer and then eat smaller amounts of food when you do eat, your stomach size will shrink. This has been my experience. Being able to do this pose is a great equalizer in bodybuilding competition. In today's competitive physique world, no one is able to do this pose since their bellies are so big, along with the rest of their physiques. Some of these competitors who have thrown common sense to the wind and pursued size at all costs may weigh close to 300 pounds and have huge upper bodies with waists close to 40 inches. Alright, so those were 5 tips from Frank Zane on how to get a small waistline. I hope you enjoyed this video. With that being said, subscribe for more videos like this. Give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. This is Old School Dan checking out. Peace.